Hello, America and the world. This is Vinney Chopra and my co-host Bo Extend with Vinny.
Hey, Vinny, your screen's not on for some
Oh, it's
reason.
not. What's going on? Hold on. What'd you say? Oh, what happened? Am I live or not?
You're
Bo.
live, but we can't see you.
Oh
Maybe,
no way. Oh my gosh.
may
Here.
go down on the bottom and see if your camera is clicked off.
No, it's on, buddy. Okay,
I
now
actually
it's
can
on,
see I can see
and
Vinney
now I'm
outside.
on. Is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Good.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Holy cow, I was able to see myself. But thank you again. Again, good morning, America. We come live to you 9:30 Pacific every Friday. Every Friday, please like us, comment, and please let us know where you're from. We'll ask more people as we join. We got great friends today. Very here from the Bay Area. Hendra and Mercy are with us, and we're going to talk about real estate investing and how the spouses together come through, together to really make it happen in the field of real estate. I know in my case, it was tough. It was really tough. When I started, my wife and my daughter, Monica, didn't believe in me. I mean, that's the truth. They thought that I'll lose all the money I made and I'm going to be bankrupt and things like that. So that's the real truth. I'm telling you. So we're going to really dig into that, how to really take care and bring the excitement, in the family with the spouse, because you need that person with you. So please let us know where you're from and also ask questions of the guests. I would like to ask Bo, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's I don't know, it's very busy and it's interesting on the lending side because you get to see where the trends are. And
Yes.
like just recently I have a ton of traffic in Tennessee. So it's interesting to see how much movement there is in Tennessee. The markets there are crazy. And I joined Facebook groups and it's interesting to see how many people are getting into this Airbnb phenomenon, I guess you would say, and the
Yes.
vacation rentals. And I'm always looking at it. Are we in a kind of a bubble for that, or is this gonna, not saying that it's gonna crash, but people are crushing it right now. How long will these high occupancy rates stay the way they are? Will it balance out? Will hotel business pick up, more and more and more, and
Yeah.
drive the occupancy levels down on the STR? But right now, I can tell you, I'm doing a lot of financing of these properties, especially in Florida, Tennessee. Seem to be the two meccas right now of loan requests that I'm seeing, which is interesting because I think, and as far as multifamily, it seems like Texas is extremely hot still. Doing my one of my first deals in Kentucky right now, which is
Yes.
interesting to see. And so lots of things going on in the lending world, and I'm interested to dive in and learn how a power couple makes it and how they kind of transition. Because I think you guys started more in the passive world, and now you've become more of the GPs, which is, I think, very interesting to see that. And I think there's going to be more and more people. I think it's great to get your feet wet, and I kind of want to dive into this. Get your feet wet as an LP and
Mhm.
learn the ropes, right? And learn from an experienced operator, and then have the skill sets to transition it into be a operator yourself. So love to dive in, and thanks for joining
Totally.
us.
Totally, Bo. And hey, I was in Tennessee. I mean, Dollywood, Gatlinburg, and Knoxville. I'm very happy to announce that we won the deal, the multifamily deal, out of 15 other bidders. 15 bidders. We
Wow.
won. We are excited. We got the contract going, and we're going to put 8 townhouses on the land on the property. We have another property, 52 units or 54 units next door that we are already reaching out to the seller. If we can purchase that too, it'll make it 187 or total something. There is 8 more units we can add to the property which we are buying also, plus 8 ton houses. So it's a pretty big value play. Anyway, but you're right, 99% occupancy there in the Smoky Mountains, and we saw La Quinta in. We are purchasing hotels also, just like you mentioned. But let me talk about it's not about us. It's about our guests also. So Hendra and Mercy, they came as foreign students to the US. Hendra and Mercy earned their degree from San Francisco State University. After graduation, Hendra has worked in pre-IPO startups, Fortune 50 and Big Four corporations, while Mercy worked in the hospitality industry. I didn't know that. Mercy, about you. That's awesome. And then again, industry and successfully operated multiple restaurants also. Fabulous, fabulous. After investing in single family home on the side to save for their son's college fund, they realized that it's not going to be scalable fast enough. And it prompted Henry and Mercy to start looking into multifamily in late 2018. So they have been successful in just a short period of time. I know a lot of people watching us every week. They want to get into multifamily. They want to scale up. They want to have cash flows. This will be an exciting show for them to kind of look into. Finally, decide to jump into multifamily in the mid of 2019, and to date, they are involved in 7 projects with more than 1,000 units as both general and limited partners. So, welcome, Hendra and Mercy. I'm really glad to have you, and it's such a pleasure to know you for about over a year, maybe 2 years or something.
Yep. Yep. Well, thank you for having us, Vinney, Bo.
Yes, yes. So tell us more, like, how was it starting out? What did you go through as a family, and what challenges you face? Because I think that's the main thing, which we can talk about and then see how you're scaling, where you are now, and where you're heading.
Yeah. So I can tell you that from what the introduction that you just mentioned, a lot of things that happened in the background, because back then, 2 years ago, I was a traveling consultant. I was really tired of traveling Monday to Thursday. And then Mercy was actually also operating a restaurant. So we pretty much don't have any quality family time, just because the weekend I'm home. Mercy have a lot of private events that happening on the weekend. So the quality family time is almost never appearing, right? So we got burnt out from there. We start looking into businesses. And then one thing that keeps stumbling for us is just real estate and multifamily. And then back in my mind, it's like, hey, if I got 8 to 10 units of single family portfolio, imagine if I got like 20 plus, then it'll be easier in terms of the cash flowing, right? For our son college fund. And that's what it got us get into multifamily. We start looking into it, but the more I look into it, the more I realize it's about the business. And I told Mercy, she was never interested in real estate to begin with. I gave her one of the book about commercial real estate, Wheelbarrow Profit, right? Yep. And then she was reading on it, and it would just give like a light bulb moment, aha moment for her during the weekend. And she said, like, I want to do it. And that's what exactly I said to her, like, look, if you want to do it, we need to do it together, because this is a business. It's not just like buying and praying like a single family home, because we need to work together, because this is a real business. And that's how we doing a mindset shift, because when we coming in, we treated this as like a business, not just a simply buying and holding it and praying it's going to happen.
Excellent, excellent. So multifamily, did you look into, like, did you own single family homes? And a lot of people look into, they're doing, flipping and wholesaling. And then they say, you know what, let's get into multifamily or storage units or, mobile home parks or like that. Why did you decide just multifamily?
Well, back in the day, 2 years ago, the mindset is just like, hey, if one single family can give me about $300, $400 cash flow on a monthly basis, maybe 5, 10, 20 or so, there'll be one spot that can be easier than I just, time whatever number of units that we have. That's the mindset we have coming in. But as I read the book and I networking with people, that mindset have to be start shifting. It's no longer just a cash flow, but it's really a pure business. How can we maximize the value? And that's something that is lacking in single family home, as you may aware, because it's based on the comps next door. doesn't matter how much rehab that you do in the single family home, the comp may be a little bit higher to your next door, but that's pretty much it. It's not like multifamily that you can increase the income, minimize the expenses, make it as efficient as you want. Then your NOI going to be higher, and then so is your valuation of your property.
So true. So true.
So what did it look like for you? When you made the transition, did you get involved as an LP first? I mean, what did that look like? What was your first acquisition of your multifamily property? The first one you did.
We actually came in as a GP first, which is kind of a little bit unusual. And then, and I can tell you that, don't do it if you have a faint at heart, right? So, it's a nerve-wracking experience. We met through our partners through a networking, obviously, and we were simply asking like, hey, you're having a deal right now. Can you tell me more? And then from our conversation, we just learned that, hey, if we need help in raising capital for the CapEx reserve. So if this is something that you might be interested, you might be going to become like a GP. And then the moment I tell Mercy and both of us at that night, we'll start looking what does GP means, right? Because that's how new we were back then. But and then we take it a challenge. Obviously, both of us are committed, and I'm grateful that Mercy is, as my spouse, really supporting me, and when we come in together, it's not like I'm 1 foot stepped in and then she's waiting outside like I'm going to pull you out when you're not, not successful. But she's like, hey, let's do it together, and then we actually do a capital raise amongst our family. I remember that day that 2 years ago that I called all my family sitting in my living room, plug in my laptop to my big screen and explaining like why this property makes sense, why multifamily, why Dallas, and so forth. And everybody's like, I don't know enough about that deals, but I trust you, and let's go forward, and I'll support you. And yeah, that's pretty much the summary of the story, though. But it was nerve-wracking, Bo. I can tell you that. It's not for faint at heart.
Well, that's good. You took some major action, and then now as you progressed, what are you looking for like today? What markets do you like? What's kind of your avatar as far as acquisition? Are you still doing like 30-unit properties, but you'll also do 200-unit properties? What are you really looking for, and where generally?
So right now we're in a little bit different market, right? I mean, condition is of the market's a little bit different. 2 years ago, you're looking at 100 plus units, you can still do it. Now, with the cap rate compression, hot market, overflowing with capital, we start looking into an emerging market to begin with, number one. Number two, our sweet spot's going to be in the anything below 100 units right now, because I think that's a sweet spot for us. That way, then when we when we look into it, we're not competing with institutional buyer who have like $1 billion of cash waiting for wealth preservation, and that way then we can still meet our criteria that we're looking for.
Sure. No, you're right. And, the thing is, institutional buyers come into 300 or so units and in the 25 to 30 million and above range, right? We have bought in the 52 range and 35 range. But you're right. I think in the lower level, still, I think there are opportunities and we are uncovering them. A lot of people are doing deals and so on. I know Mercy mentioned that you are into the property management phase now. Share with us about that one, right, Mercy? Yeah.
So this is the aspect I'm interested into operating the property, because that is my background coming from, operating the restaurant. Now it's kind of operating the property. So it's interesting. It's kind of similar. A lot of tracking, a lot of seeing the number, which I'm interested in. And now I understand that all the things that I do in the underwriting, it makes sense. Even for, all the underwriting become the goal. Become the roadmap for the particular properties.
So true. So true. We do very conservative assumptions in our underwriting, and we
Mhm.
do the best assumptions we can ever have, and then make sure that the number crunching with the cash flow, equity gain, and the waterfalls, we call it, all those things need to happen once we get the keys, once we get the property takeover. Our business plan needs to be so detailed and so tight so that we are able to accomplish on a monthly basis the cash flow. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No.
Absolutely.
And then see the variance and then make decisions right away. I mean, it just, I just tell, even though I wrote that book, syndication is made easy. But once you get the money going and buy the property, holy cow, the job starts. I mean, we have been vertically integrated, and, that has been the biggest time factor that has taken in our team and the team members to manage the assets. So share with us, what challenges are you going through now during COVID, or delinquencies or concessions and ripping off by the, I should say to all the contractors, but I've saved millions of dollars negotiating, but people are there to take your money.
I think the biggest challenge is just we know that the economic hardship that everybody experiencing. We're totally aware of that. But I think one thing that a lot of investors don't realize, that we need to work together as a team, right?
Mhm.
Well, because they're your residents, true, they're a tenant, but they're also your customer.
Yes.
So they're not there try to take advantage of the situation, even though they're quite a bad fruit, few bad fruit that does it. But in a way that you need to work together with you as an asset manager, you work with the property manager, providing a solution for them. And a lot of people don't realize, like, um, acquiring a new customer. I mean, for those who are in business, realize that acquiring a new customer is actually costlier than
Yes.
retaining one. Obviously, you don't want to retain a bad one, but keep acquiring a new resident, new customer in any business is very costly. So we're trying to work together, whether we're working with the local housing authority, with the local nonprofit, try to help them, and then try to make it a situation that can help them remain in the place too.
So
Are you
true.
doing? Are you? Is your focus on workforce type housing, like in emerging markets? So you're dealing. Is your portfolio with? Is it market rate but workforce housing? Or are you dealing with more Section 8 and vouchers and things like that?
We do have Section 8 a voucher, but it's maybe only a small percentage of it, 10%, even though we are in the workforce housing.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do work with the Section 8 for workforce housing, but not really so much. Maybe only about 10-15% of our portfolio.
Sure, sure. The big thing is, keeping the client, keeping the residents happy, because not only when we lose them, it's the marketing cost, leasing cost to get them, but also turning over the unit.
That's
That is
right.
a huge cost, right? So
Yeah.
you get slapped with both the sides of
Mhm.
making that unit ready for a new family, and then also the marketing cost to get a new family. So
Yeah.
what kind of things do you do to keep your residents happy? And what kind of activities, or incentives, or whatever, or what's your focus to talk to the ones who are going to be leasing expired in 90 days? We go after 90 days. Do you go after that too, or 60 days, or how?
It's about 60 days right now. You want to talk
Yeah.
about the Kachiwa?
So one of the things that we offer to the renewal tenant is we create this renewal package. We ask them what kind of things. We have some kind of option that they can take. For example, something small.
Mhm,
Simply carpet cleaning is really appreciated by
mhm,
our tenants. Changing the light bulb to more energy efficient.
mhm.
Even the ceiling, the
Ceiling
ceiling
fan.
fan,
Popcorn.
Ceiling fan, yep. And
huge,
the
yeah, huge in Kansas market. What else? Those kind of package. Oh, the USB outlets. It's
Oh
really
yes.
yeah, something small. It doesn't cost us a lot of money, but
Mhm.
that's kind of a sweet deal for them.
I love
So,
it. Love it.
so you guys are in Kansas City, Missouri. Some of your acquisitions there,
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
and Kansas is got like a good like job market, doesn't it? Like it was surprising how many big employers are there.
They are. They are right now.
Yeah.
We are actually not in the Kansas City MSA area. We are on the Wichita side. That's where we're.
Okay,
Okay.
Wichita.
We're in an air capital city. Yeah, so it's
All
pretty.
right. Awesome. Awesome. Are you planning to kind of? I really believe in the economies of scale, right?
Mhm.
Like San Antonio, we bought 7 there. Midland, Odessa, maybe 5, 6 over there. Then Houston, 10, things like that. So, are you planning to really dig more deeper so that you can have economies of scale, preferred vendors, and things like that?
Yeah, that's always the plan to expand. But obviously, with given the market situation right now, and finding the right deal that fitting the right criteria has been more challenging.
True.
So we don't want to. Obviously, we don't want to pay too much, right, for any asset right now. So that's always going to be the plan to expand. Given that we do have the team over there with our property manager, with contractor, all the teams are already ready to go. We just need to find the right deal to expand, and it's quite been a journey. Put it that way.
That's good. That's good. So, what kind of systems do you use in managing then? Do you use a special platform to manage your assets? I know there's so many of them out there. Which one did you have you chosen? And uh,
So it really depends on the property manager, though. For the one that we Wichita one, we are using Yardi for that one because they already had the platform over there. So obviously we got the data out, and then we do have a spreadsheet that we just keep track and pulling the data in, and that's how we measure it. And then Mercy does a good job in terms of like measuring the KPI, the OPEX ratio. That's going to be all the tangible number that is measurable on a monthly basis or weekly basis, so we kind of know where the trend's going up or down. So that's when we start having discussion with with the property manager on a bi-weekly basis
yes.
where the trend is, right? So that's kind of like a sort of like a point of discussion if there's things that we need to be worth looking into deeper in case of the OPEX going up and going above the threshold that we're looking for.
How
Excellent.
often? How often do you retain the existing property manager versus? This is kind of an interesting question. Like, how often do you retain property management? How often do you bring new property management in, or do you always bring new property management in? What's been kind of your last couple of years your experiences? Are you usually always bringing a new property manager in?
So for our first 18 months, our partners are a vertically integrated company, just like Vinney. So they already have everything in-house.
Mhm.
We help on the investor relationship side, so that's already pretty much given. The last 2 acquisitions, though, is kind of pretty interesting. The Wichita one, we brought in a brand new property manager that worked out really, really great because they already established, they're local over there. We like them, and then we like their mindset because they approach everything just like an ownership. Because, for example, they can propose things, but instead of just, hey, you need to do this, it's like, if I were you, given the cost, you might want to hold up to this until a year later or something like that.
Mhm.
So that kind of a mindset of partnership that we're looking for a property manager. The other one that we have, a smaller one, the 44 units in the different markets, that's in the smaller town of Kansas. That one's a little bit different because it's a lot of like a mom and pop. We inherited from the seller because they already have a relationship with the tenant.
Mhm.
Because I think bringing in a new property manager, might create a tension, given that they already have a close relationship with the residents.
Mhm.
So that's how we see things from property manager. So back to your question, and have you replaced? We haven't replaced any of them yet. So it really depends on situation basis because once again, looking for the longevity of the asset, how you want to plan to do it. So for the smaller one that we inherit from the seller, we have a partner that live over there that eventually going to take over the property management. So I don't think it makes sense to bring in somebody else and then 2 years down the road we just replace it with my partner. So that's the roadmap what we've been seeing.
Surely. In the softwares, by the way, in the last 14 years, we have used Rent Manager. I know Rent Manager. It's a very nice software and also very inexpensive, if I may ask. Of course, then Will Page, Yardi. Now with 3 assets in Florida and Texas, we use Yardi, just like you said. And then Appfolio is another great company that has a good software right there. I wanted to definitely mention, like Bo was asking, I like to look at what are the reviews of the property management company and the asset that you're purchasing. Are the people happy with the people in the office and the leasing office? What's their attitude? Do they get their service orders taken care of correctly? Do they deal with the residents in a good way? And so on. And that is a good way to do the transition. If you're doing too much of the renovations and you're going to be doing very heavy capital influx, you may like to bring a new property management company and go ahead and interview 4, 5, 6, 7 of them to get the best of the best in that category. And don't be a number. You don't want to be just a number. They need to really cater to your needs because they are working for you. You're not working for them. They're working for you.
Correct. Yeah.
Want to manage the managers. No, thank you. And the Atlanta deal I bought, I was so impressed with the community manager. They were all dressed up in uniform with the badges, with the names, and the enthusiasm, that she showed me the tour. I said, you know what? I'll have a deal tomorrow. I'm going to buy this property because of you. Sharon was her name. And she did so well because we hired every single member of that community to reapply with our company because we are vertically integrated. They reapplied and they became our team members, And we asked the seller if we could interview them. We always, if we are interested in the people at the property, we ask the seller first because many times they take their people to their other properties and you cannot jeopardize them, But no, that's good. No, very strong, very strong. Bo, what can you add? Hendra and Mercy, what's your routine and how do you really, keep up with the tempo of jobs along with the real estate? I think people would like to know maybe a little bit about that. Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm still at the W-2 job. So for me, having 2 full-time jobs. So Mercy's the one that's doing this full-time.
Yeah.
A lot of, back to your point earlier, like, how we can work together as a family, right? Because we're in it together. I'm more like connecting with people. I'm connecting with Bo. I'm connecting with Vinney. I'm connecting with everybody else. That's how we got the broker relationship and also networking with other deal maker that brought us a deal. Mercy, the other around is basically doing the asset management and underwriting. So she's actually my secret weapon in underwriting. Every time I got an OM or every time like a rent roll T12, she's the one that underwrite it for me. And that's how we work together after that. Like, hey, how can we make it better before we bring it to the larger team? And that's how we work together. And then that's how we're able to thrive. Because it's one team, essentially. It's a team sport, right?
Yeah, that's good. Because I think you got to go with like, people have certain strengths, right? And so it sounds like, Hendra, you're more of the business development and deal kind of finding and building the network. And then your wife is really analytical. So I think, probably when you guys met, you guys had a good bond because you each brought a different like value. As I just recently got married a year and a half ago, my wife is very organized and detail oriented versus me, who's more probably like Hendra. Right. So it works well. So when you're in a relationship, and at first, maybe your wife's not interested in your business. Like Vinney had some backlash, and they probably put a little bit of like, you can't do this. You're gonna ruin us. You already have a little bit of a nest egg. You're doing well. Why are you gonna try to do this? But look what happened. That he just said, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna show you. And now I think his family is probably pretty happy that he went with his gut, and I think you have to kind of push through, even if your family's not supportive. And it's a blessing if they are, but I think you need to, because sometimes I'll run stuff by family members and they'll kind of like, they have more of a small, not that they have a closed mindset, but they're not like a growth mindset. I think it's very important that, you gotta follow what's inside. And obviously if you have a spouse that's supporting you, it makes it easier than, going against the grain and like, hey, I want to do this. And, I think we're fortunate, depending on how you're raised too, your upbringing, right? Like a lot of people are stuck in the W-2 mindset where they just can't release from that security, right? Like that they won't invest. I mean, right? Like I think there's a certain strategy, like Hendra, you probably do pretty well with your job. And so right now you guys are growing, and probably in 5 years from now, you're going to probably not work anymore. Maybe even sooner, but like you're still like doing it, you're still an entrepreneur, you're still going after it. And then there's people that are just stuck in their W-2 job, and they won't. It actually, I think, makes it easier if you have a W-2 job at the beginning, because it's like, hey, I'm still making X amount a year, and it's easier to qualify for bank financing, right? Like it just, it's like, we're not this startup company. I make X amount of my W-2 job. I've got a huge retirement account. I'm very credible. So I think for financing purposes, when you're not, until you've built that portfolio, having a W-2 job makes complete sense. And people often ask me, like, people are always like, hey, I want to like quit my W-2 job and like this and that. I'm like, well, you should like first build your portfolio and then quit your W-2 job. Because what happens when you have one speed bump that comes out? And I think the last 12 years have been an uptick. Okay. Like it's been a long run. Mm-hmm. At some point you're going to hit a little resistance, and you got to be prepared for these turbulent markets that are coming, and they're going to come some point soon. I mean, look, just figure this, the way I look at it is the market's being artificially stimulated right now in a huge, how many millions of billions and trillions of dollars have been put out right now. So at some point the party's going to stop, and we don't know what is going to really happen, but we also have to hedge our investments that, hey, something's going to happen. What are the assets that are going to like power through? Where's the trends going? And I think, people need a place to live. There's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day. So, I like the assisted space too. I think that's strong. I think there's going to be a lot of transitioning of people moving, like myself, from, expensive markets to emerging markets that have everything the expensive market has, except it's a third the cost to live. Maybe the tax structure is better. I think these are things that the trends are going to keep going. Yeah. So definitely, kind of like what I think though also is that right before the downturn of 2007, right, there was a big movement of people buying, like especially in the single family space, they were buying in all these secondary and vacation markets. What happens when the market tightens? Like that's what I always tell people. And I got this very good tip from Vinney, and he always says the word stress test. You got to stress test when you're underwriting. And whether you're underwriting a 100-unit building or you're underwriting a short-term rental, I spent a while on the phone with this lady. She's got like 13 short-term rentals, and she wants to build this business model to scale it up. And I said, listen, my good friend Vinney said, you got to stress test. And I don't care what it is. You're booking 80% occupancy on your short-term rental in this market, but you should be stress testing it down to 50. And if it's still cash flows at 50, it's probably a good deal. And I think a lot of people aren't looking at that. And I got that stuck in my mind from Vinney is always stress test, because you got to hedge. The only way you lose money, like from my experience, is if you can't sustain, right? If you're speculating and the market changes, because that's what happened to me in 2007. I speculated, right? And I didn't know cash flow. If you stress test a property on a cash flow basis and you're not doing a huge value add, meaning you're taking a 50 unit vacant building and trying to like fill it, right? That's a pretty big value add play. But I think if you're doing these transitional properties that are cash flowing day one, there's less risk of that downside.
Yeah.
So true, both. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hendra. Thank you, Mercy, for joining. I know Theo is asking, at what point can you leave your W-2 job? I will say when your W-2 job income is equal to or close to your cash flow. You got to really set it up so that you are able to, or maybe look at W-2, what you're saving, and then what will it take to really live for a year or so, with the savings and all, have that emergency fund, because you just
Yeah.
cannot leave W-2. Isn't that right? Right, Hendra? Right,
No,
Mercy?
totally right. I mean, a lot of people don't realize like this is about building a business, right? And then so is your personal life business too, because a lot of people don't realize how much budgeting they need on the personal level, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people like, I want to get $10,000, $15,000 passive income. That's great, but what do you actually need on the monthly basis is
Yeah.
actually what you need to leave your W-2 job. I mean, if you can live with $3,000, that might be it. Instead of like $20,000, right? It's more attainable. And then having your 1 year life saving, like what you said, Vinney, it's spot on, because that's how you be more comfortable and secure to leave your W-2 job that way.
I love that, because I was like, I think people right now should really, I always say this, add up all your expenses, including fun, food. What does it really cost you per month? Like some of my friends it costs them 25 grand a month, right? Like that's a lot of money. I know my brother spends about 20 with his kids in school, 25 grand a month just in his overhead. Yeah. Okay. That's on top of his savings and things like that. So like, I know what I'm doing personally now is like, right now is an optimal time to like, trim the fat, right? Like anything, like I have software for, like Reonomy, that's for all these softwares. One day I added it up and I'm like, I can't believe I'm spending this much money per month. And not that, so you got to really evaluate what you're spending your money on. And also too, like times like now it's about being strategic. Can I go into, a lower interest rate loan on my primary residence? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I take my rental portfolio and refinance that into a longer amortization or a lower interest rate and save $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 a month? I mean, so those strategic moves, I just figured out a way where I could just save myself about $6,000 a month in overhead. And it's like, we got to be doing that. And it's hard when you're in the business, you work, I have to, I'm closing loans. I have a couple investment properties and I'm trying to get more investment properties. And it's like, you got to wear all these hats and people don't get how, you got to be dialed in. And as I go in life, it's like pay for the right people in your life. Like just getting the right tax person to give you advice and things like that. Like those are the things you don't want to cheap out on, right? Like the people that can give you that advice, like, hey, you could cost segregate these 10 houses.
Yes.
No, I can do. What does that look like for me? And I think those steps really can make people go so far ahead. And I think really right now is a time probably over the next 3 years where you don't want to quit your job, because I think there's uncertainty coming, right? And like you guys are fortunate enough to have a team, so somebody does X and somebody does the other portion, right? And so I think it's good having a little bit of both. And then at some point I would say when you have, almost 150x of what your salary is, or maybe even 200x, then you quit, and then you can live above your means. You could do whatever you want at that point. But from the financing standpoint, if you're dealing with banks, they don't get, Vinney, when you started, you were doing or recently you've been doing agency debt, but when you switch to those banks, it's like it's like pulling teeth sometimes. Like they just don't get it. They don't get the investor side. Yeah. A lot of times, and they look at your global cash flow, and you have all these investment properties. They can't. A lot of these banks, it's just like a nightmare of trying to finance. So, I think it makes you so much more financeable by doing it strategically like that, and that's a great thing.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you both. How can people reach you, Hendra and Mercy? Yeah, I think there was a caption there that we had put also. Please
There you
do
There
go.
it is.
Yeah.
give your idea. Yeah, ideaboxcapital.com. I love it. Love the name, So thank you again for joining and thank you for the mastermind. I appreciate you coming on every Wednesday, that we also are in and others. And let's have a great week, guys. Let's have a great Friday. We'll see you next Friday. Thank you so much. God bless you.